get your hair fixed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to deal with it. But
welcome to Mod Talk episode 11.
Part 4.
Part 4, our final.
It's a mini-series in its own.
Our final of Who the Hell Are We?
I mean, it's really not the final. We're condensing a lot, but whatever.
Yeah, okay, it's
we don't want to bore people.
I'm Damian Mel. And
Mia Mel.
You have a title?
President? Well, you know, according to a lot of people, I'm just your wife who you give hobbies to, apparently.
Yes.
That's a whole nother topic.
I would like to be your husband you just give hobbies to and I don't have to work.
That's a whole nother topic.
All right. So, okay. So, if you listen to episode 10, which we have like 2 people that did. No, we have more than 2 people. No, it's in the double digits.
That's double what we had last time.
It's double. It's in the double. It's getting there. We're building some traction.
Yeah. So we left off at what, 2013?
Yeah, we have about 2013. If you were following along, we had talked about our companies had worked first with Fannie Mae, and then we rolled that over to working with the funds who were buying basically the REO properties from the bank, and those funds are holding those properties as long-term rentals. So we kind of got through that portion of it, and I think we were talking about it. And then really after that kind of wound down and the funds stopped buying, they had their
or they took it all in house.
They take it in house. Well, they stopped buying. They stopped buying.
Yeah,
too,
they stopped buying, or they went out of California. Anyways, they went to other states too.
They were becoming their worst enemy because the more they bought, the more the prices went up because of them.
They were affecting their own market.
So they kind of said, okay, we're done with California. They still have the inventory. They just were not buying. So after that, I want to say between like 2013 through
like 2000, it was
2019,
pretty boring.
Yeah, it was just business as normal. It was every day.
Stable market.
Yeah, there was no like
5% appreciation.
5 to 10 appreciation. Some areas better than others.
It was not, but I mean, you obviously have to have those times of stability. You can't be.
We took we took a lot of vacations. We took the time to travel the world.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. That's when we finally started traveling because we had the time. There's nothing crazy going on.
Yeah, we were traveling the world. We went. I'm glad we went everywhere before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we weren't stuck somewhere when COVID hit. But yeah, we took that time to travel. We grew the business. We acquired some other property management companies during that time.
Yeah.
We still did a fair amount of listings from our portfolio, and
that's
so
fine. We just weren't running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
No, we bought some properties. We got into the vacation management business during that time. We bought vacation rentals.
True.
So it was kind of like it wasn't a big boom in any one direction. Things were happening. We were busy, but we were busy because we were kind of creating our own opportunity by acquiring.
Yeah.
And so
we weren't we couldn't just be reactive because the market was doing X, so we were jumping into action. We just had to kind of make our own situation.
2000, I want to say 2016 or 17, we acquired a vacation rental company based in Palm Desert. And so that was kind of a brand new aspect of our business. And because if you're familiar with vacation rentals, it's essentially hospitality. You're running a bunch of mini hotels.
Yes. And you didn't want to do it.
Huh?
You didn't want to do it.
No, it was, it's
he never wants to do anything
I
new.
never want to do anything. I don't. I didn't want to do this podcast.
He's always like, no, we're not doing it. And then he'll be like, we're doing it.
No. Well, what happened was we have a house in Palm Desert, and that was kind of our getaway. Even though we manage all over Southern California, we went to Palm Desert for the weekend. It was great. It was our getaway. And then as soon as we bought this company in Palm Desert, it was now just the extension of going to another office over the weekend. Oh, while you're there,
turns into a black hole.
Yeah. Then while you're there, can you go to this property, go to that property? And so, that became a lot of work for us. But so we did that. And so we did vacation management, a lot of dealing with Canadians coming from the wintertime into the Coachella Valley. Working,
which was good looking back, though. We did get into that.
No, it was good.
But I feel sort of like right now is a little bit like that stable time, even though there's things going on. The market's very kind of quiet. Don't you feel? I mean,
okay. Well, if you
I know.
If you mean stable like dead, then yeah. So I'm okay. No heartbeat.
Yeah, but it just feels.
I'm glad you don't drive an ambulance for a living.
It just feels slow.
Yeah,
it's
patient's
slow,
fine. No heartbeat.
It's okay. Maybe it's not.
Okay, let's walk that back.
But it's slow. We have to make up our own stuff. We're not being reactive.
It was slow. It was not slow back then in the sense that we didn't have like this crazy rush of business, but we were profitable. The things we did made money. We had opportunity. We had multiple sets of opportunity. It just wasn't crazy, right? The difference is, and I got something in my eye. The difference is it wasn't crazy like you're running.
It wasn't super reactive.
Yeah, it wasn't like the REO days, right? Where we're just like, waking up at like 5:30 in the morning and going, oh my God, how am I going to get through the day? This was, hey, I can get up, I can go work out, I can go do a hike, I can get to work.
I can breathe for a
yeah,
second.
it was kind of nice. And so
Okay.
I would say that was pretty stable until about 2019 and the tail end of 2019.
But I guess I feel that time, I feel like it's the same kind of vibe because we do have a large property management portfolio that just gives us that income every month. So it just feels like it's kind of like that's happening, no matter what. Yeah, we might not have as many listings as we normally have, but we don't even necessarily rely on that type. That's kind of like our gravy.
Yeah,
that's always our gravy. So as opposed to being just like a real estate agent where all you're doing is representing buyers or sellers, this time really sucks for you. Or if you're doing loans and your loans are all dried up, this time is a real downer for you. So although we can be doing more because we do property management, it just feels a little slow and quiet and boring, but we're not dying.
Well, okay,
that's what I mean.
But
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also too is it's a lot slower in the sense that we have less engagement with our clients right now because they're not as active as they were.
I think everyone's focused on the economy and what's happening
Correct.
with them. So
Correct.
they kind of just know the property's operating.
We don't even get as many calls in the middle of the night there's something wrong with properties. Like the number of like emergency calls in the middle of the night where our team was looking at, they're way down. You have the same number of property. Like people for whatever reason just are right now in a different headspace. And so it's kind of made things change, right? Like people will have different focus. 2015, if you think back 2015, 16, and 17, where was your head as a business owner, as a consumer, versus today? A lot of people are walking around. Anxiety is still very much real.
Yeah, high anxiety.
High anxiety.
Gas prices.
What's going on with the economy.
Grocery. Inflation. Bidenomics.
Like, and then it's like, it's working. And then,
it's working.
And then, the idea of, like every 5 minutes, is there going to be another pandemic, and it's got people on edge, right? So no matter what you view of those topics, the reality is they exist, and the reality is it's affecting people. It's affecting consumer behavior. It's affecting the way you run your business.
People are on edge and unhappy. I think in general, they're unhappy with how things are going. They're unhappy with the economy. They're unhappy about probably their job situation.
Yeah, and look, and you may be saying, okay, why are you guys talking about this? Is this a business, podcast about real estate? And the reason we're talking about it is it's real, right? You can't ignore everything that's going on around you and say, hey, I'm just going to only focus on this one thing.
Everything touches everything.
Well, it does, because your customer is going to be on edge, and you have to realize that and then understand what's going on with your customer and how are they impacted and so forth. So all of it is really relevant, and it's relevant to to every degree, right? What you're doing. It all, like you said, it touches everything.
Yeah.
So 2019 was interesting for us because we had the opportunity of interviewing with Amazon to get a contract with them for a delivery service partner. And so if you're unfamiliar with that, everyone is aware of the vans that drive through your neighborhood and throw packages on your front door. Some kick them, some place them there, but the Amazon guys that deliver to your house. And so we had the ability to...
And those are third-party companies.
They're third-party companies.
They're not... Those vans are not ran by Amazon.
No, they're not ran by Amazon.
They're ran by small business owners like us.
And yeah, exactly. Very similar to FedEx Ground. When you get packages from FedEx Ground, those are same thing. We should
start. So how it began. So because we were traveling, I was on a plane, I think.
Yeah.
So I was on a plane reading the Plane magazine, and I just remember in one of the advertisements, it said, have an Amazon delivery business. For as little as $10,000, you can own an Amazon business and make up to $300,000. So you can start it up with $10,000 and you can make up to $300,000 a year. So that piqued my interest, and I think it was over Christmas, probably of 2018.
Yeah.
I applied online. You apply online, And then shockingly, I got it. I did get an interview. I did get chosen to go through the process.
Yes, you had an
but
interview.
ultimately I was not picked. I think because I was a girl. I'm convinced it's because I was a girl. Because me and him have the same resume, and he got picked. So after I got denied, he applied.
I was like, hold on, let me just show you how this is done. And, so,
and you weren't even that interested in it.
No, I wasn't. That's why they picked me, because I wasn't that interested
again,
in
something.
it.
Yeah. So it was my idea. I did it, but he didn't care.
So
but
then,
he applied.
so then I got it, and then I distinctly remember being on a call. It was a national call. There was all kinds of people from all over the country on it, and an Amazon rep said, if you own another business or other businesses, we are not interested in you. We're not looking for serial entrepreneurs. We're not looking for other business owners. Basically, what Amazon was looking for was individuals who worked maybe at a capacity of a manager, that they could put in the role of a business owner. They could dictate how that business is run, and essentially you would become basically an employee of Amazon, but not really, right? They're just telling you what to do, but you're an independent owner.
Well, they want you to be an owner-operator, your boots specifically on the ground,
and they,
maybe renting a route.
And they want that because they don't want to be unionized, and you don't unionize a bunch of small companies. It's just not. It doesn't work. They tried it with FedEx Ground. It didn't work. And so that was the business model they're taking.
Also, I think part of it was they had their own, when we first started, they had their own drivers, the blue badge drivers, and they were horrible.
Yeah.
So they did not have the ability to manage their own.
They were so corporate that if a driver said, I'm not going there, they say, okay, we'll send you somewhere else. If our driver said they weren't going there,
and
we
they
say
literally hired like anyone with a heartbeat.
Because they were afraid of being sued. So that was the issue. So anyways,
Plus
okay. So I went to Vegas to interview with them, and I said, I'm not going to lie to them. So you interview with 3 different panels. 2 of the panels were kids. They were like in their 20s, and it was funny because they were asking me questions, and they were asking me questions related to how do I manage, and I literally, one of them I laughed at. I go, you're like, literally, I go, what are you, like 12? You're going to ask me?
Like
I've been
23.
Yeah, I've been doing this 20-some years, and you're like 12, right? Like, and the guy kind of laughed at it. But we went through the interview process, and we got to the final interview. It was with an Amazon regional manager, and I said, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I own multiple businesses. I'm in real estate. I'm in construction. I said, I send my employees to houses every single day. Oftentimes we're either, showing the house, inspecting the house, or fixing something at the house. The only difference between your business and my business is you're just going to more houses per day, and you're delivering a package. I go, so it's essentially the same thing. And he kind of laughed, and he goes, okay, I can kind of see that. And he goes, I remember asking, he goes, if you were to get this contract, would you leverage your other businesses? And I said, absolutely. Like, I already have one company that does all of our accounting, all of our employee leasing. Yeah, of course, I would leverage that and then just fold this in. And so that obviously must have impressed them, because I remember we were on our way back from Vegas. The very next day, we're leaving. We're in the middle of the desert. Get a call. Boom. It's Amazon. Hey, you got a contract. Where do you want us? Can you? They kind of lied to us. They said Pasadena, but it was really Rosemead.
Yeah.
They said Pasadena.
They gave us a lot of choices.
Yeah,
Pasadena seemed like the best.
Yeah, Mia
one.
goes, well, Pasadena, I can get good lunch out there, but it was not really Pasadena. It was Rosemead. So luckily,
it was El Monte.
So it was definitely a blessing that we had that. And what happened was, when COVID finally did hit. So we started in August. We actually started right at my birthday in August in 2019. Yeah. And it's a 7-day-a-week venture, by the way. So it's
24/7 almost.
24/7. It's very time consuming. And so we started, and we got through that first holiday season and just kind of struggled to understand their process. It takes a minute to build a business, like we talked about, right? You're trying to understand their process, understand what it takes to hire, what it takes to get the job done. We get through that first initial season in 2019, peak season. We did okay. We're making okay money. The first 6 months, we're actually
ramping.
doing good. We're doing good. And then COVID hits early
March.
Early the beginning of like first quarter of 2020. And I remember we were asking the station, hey, we'd like to do more routes, right? We'd like to get more work. And so and how it works is every route means a van on the road. So if you have 10 routes, that means you have 10 vans on the road 7 days a week, and that's with a 10-hour drive in there, right? 10-hour driver in there. And so we're asking, hey, can we get more? And I remember they were telling me, no, volume is not there. Then all of a sudden COVID hit, and within a week they came back and said, you're doing 15 routes right now. Can we get you to 60? So they want me to get 60 more, they want to ramp up to 60 vans, more drivers, which
and
is
you really have a 20, like at least a 20% overage that you need. So if you
Absolutely.
have 60 routes, you probably need 80 vans because there's
Well,
always broken ones.
maybe like 70, but yeah, you definitely need more. But
You need
so,
2
but
times the drivers.
I think what worked for us was right when COVID hit, our real estate business froze. Like nobody wanted us to come to their house to make repairs because they didn't know what was going on. People were paranoid.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden owners were not
No
even.
one was selling,
I didn't have to
really.
even worry about customer service because no owner would even ask anything about their account, their statements, because now they're all freaked out. They're either locked down
Yeah, the
themselves
phones
or
were
home.
dead.
Yeah, it's like the phones were not ringing. There was no emails. Like it was just dead. So we're like, okay, well, I guess this works out because we're doing Amazon. So it allowed us to obviously focus on it. We ramped, and so through COVID, so we ran Amazon all the way through until 2000 and what's it? We're in 20. We ended 22, the end of 22. We end up walking
Almost
away.
3.
We end up walking away from Amazon. I'll get to that in a second, but we end up using all of our resources because, as it was,
some of our employees would do routes.
no, they would. But here's what's funny, and they would help manage. Everybody was kind of chipping in, but what was funny is, you put a bunch of people in vans. There was no driver training. People were running into all kinds of stuff. Our construction team got so busy fixing properties that we damaged. I mean, like we would back into garages. I mean, we would just do mailboxes,
fences.
I remember we backed into
signs in apartment buildings. Parking structures.
We hit several times the overhead balconies in communities. They have the garages and your apartment hangs over. We would hit those because it was tall vans. So I mean, all of a sudden we had this influx of business. It's just unfortunate that one company
we call it business.
One company was paying the other, but it kept our guys busy.
Bosses,
that's for sure.
I think it's called.
But so we did that, and so during Amazon we did the numbers, and we at our height we were running out of 3 stations in LA. We were probably one of the biggest Amazon service providers in the LA region, and we were running about 120 to 125 vans a day.
Yeah.
And then in addition, we during the peak holiday seasons, we were running an additional set of guys that would come in at like 9:00 at night, and they would deliver the stuff that other drivers brought back in, just so we could get that product out there. And so when we did the math and we looked at, we hand delivered more than 10 million packages throughout LA during that 2.5-year period.
That's a lot of packages.
Which was, to me, is amazing. Like that was a major, accomplishment.
Yeah.
And so that was a really very stressful time. I mean,
very stressful.
Look, we're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with pandemic, we're dealing with lockdown. It's kind
of good though. If you didn't have Amazon, you might have been more focused on COVID, right?
Oh yeah, I was. Well, and if you know me, I don't like rules. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being told like, hey, you can't go here. You have to do this. You have, you're restricted. Like I did not take that
and
very
Amazon
well.
was a micromanager to the utmost.
Well, I remember that they would in the station they would have sticks that were 6 feet long, and the managers would wave them around to make sure nobody was next to them. But as soon as the station got crazy like that, I never once stepped foot in the station again. I would tell managers, if you want to talk to me, you're going to need to exit the station, because it was just crazy. But that was definitely. We did well. Like we made money, and we were able to invest that into other real estate deals during COVID. We were able to expand. We were able to, we bought a building for our business. We expanded. We launched Holton Palm retail store, which came from just really being busy and having an influx of revenue.
We bought Lake Arrowhead.
Fully gutted that to the studs and just built a brand
project.
New. Yeah. So I mean, and it's funny because I look back and I think, okay, we were almost running almost 24 hours a day, because we would run. Our latest guy would be done about like 10:30, maybe 11 o'clock, and then our tech guys were getting in at sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm looking at my sound guy over here, because our sound guy was actually our lead technician who was responsible for all of our vans. And so, yeah, he would get in. Your team would get in 4 o'clock in the morning. So really, we had 4 hours of no work. Right,
yeah,
4 hours of no work.
We were sleeping,
and it's and even though I wasn't delivering, it's I remember 10 o'clock at night, I'm looking at the board going, why are these guys still out in the field? What's going on? So
plus every single day, multiple. I mean, we had like over 100, 120 employees.
210.
Okay, so
210 full-time employees.
So, but every single day, like maybe 10 would quit. So
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy. And then every single day we'd have to hire like as many people. So we might hire 5, 10, 15,
Okay,
20,
so
whatever we can get our hands
these numbers
on.
out. Okay, so let me throw you these numbers out. Towards the tail end of COVID, we were hiring in upwards of 20 to 25 employees a day. Of those 25 people we hired for an immediate start the very next day,
What, 5 would show up?
maybe 8 would show up, and out of those 8, maybe 1 would stay after the 3 days worth of training.
Yeah.
So
The
because
attrition was
because
atrocious.
because everybody was just basically wanting to say, hey, they got a job, now they can go back to unemployment, and
But plus, so yeah, a crazy amount of attrition. Hiring 25 people, two would show up. 10 quit. 1 lawsuit every single day, something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
2 to 3 accidents every single day. Ankle sprained
car
ankles,
accidents. We paid
sprained wrists,
our accounting department.
dog bites.
Our accounting department probably processed 5 to 10 car accidents a week where we were paying cash claims to people for ripping off their mirrors. I mean, just you name it. Like we would do it. Like we had vans stolen at gunpoint.
Yes.
People. They come out. They hijack the Amazon
I mean,
driver.
the ancillary
It was
stuff that went along with it was
but
off the charts.
But what was crazy is, okay, so like we're in COVID, like I'm totally have major anxiety through COVID, right? I'm like, I'm home, like, loading my guns, listening to country music. I bought a 4x4. I'm drinking whiskey. I'm doing Amazon. We're doing this major rehab in Arrowhead. We're still running our day-to-day business because at some point people start having us come fix their stuff in their house. So we're still running the business. We're still doing listings. We're still doing all these things, working 7 days a week with 0 vacation because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Until we found Cabo. We found Cabo at some point.
Oh, yeah,
that became
Cabo.
Yeah, we found Cabo.
That was a happy accident.
We found Cabo, and Cabo for us was great. It was a 2-hour plane flight, and I can make a bag of peanuts last 2 hours, so I didn't have to wear my mask, and it was okay, right? So, but we did that during COVID, and that was absolutely probably one of the craziest. That probably exceeded the Fannie Mae REO days in terms of stress and volume, just because of so many things.
The hustle.
Yeah, and so many things. And so we got through that point. We learned a lot. As COVID loosened, things opened up again. Lockdowns went away. Stores, started letting people in again. I think Amazon realized that they overshot themselves. They built out more warehouses. They did so much.
They thought it would never end. They hoped it would never end.
Yeah, they thought it would never end. And all that free money the government was giving you were giving right back to Amazon for,
PPP,
SBA. Yeah. So, the money they're giving just individual people.
The individuals.
Yeah, they were just buying junk.
Unemployment. Yeah.
Yeah, employees would show up with brand new cars that I'm pretty sure have already been towed by now from repo. But so at the end, then Amazon said, hey, you were doing 120 some routes and we need to take you down to 30 routes. Well, okay, so if your business is doing 120 and you're down to 30, all of a sudden I'm laying off key staff, managers, fleet guys.
Everything.
It got to the point where it just became, it was no longer what I wanted. Like I was not interested in just making,
running 20 routes.
No, I was not interested in that. And so we basically told Amazon, thank you, we appreciate it.
Well, it wasn't even possible because of...
The infrastructure
ramp down
we built
wasn't even possible.
Well, we built an infrastructure larger than most DSPs because we were doing so much for Amazon, and they were relying on us. And every time they needed help in a station, we were doing that. But
plus the liability because having the Amazon name on your back is such a target, and we live in such a litigious environment that you don't make enough money for the potential liability that's involved.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just
with 20 routes.
Yeah, and so
you make enough money with 100 routes.
But remember, okay,
20.
so if you listen to our last two podcasts, we talked about when you have a big client, you cage that client because that client, you become an employee of that client, right? Essentially, I was an employee of Amazon for a lack of better terms. I wasn't really, but for lack of better terms, I had to be more focused on them than anything else. Luckily, we had the infrastructure within our company to allow that, but we knew that this was one of those things that potentially was not going to last, and we were going to take what we could out of it, and then we were going to exit
we
that.
milked it.
And as soon as it became a negative situation for us, we exited that, and it did not impact the rest of our business. We were smart not to take the money and blow it on things that were going to cost us to, like, hey, we have to continue to make payments on it and like that. We didn't change our lifestyle.
Depreciating assets.
Yeah, we invest in real estate. We invest in things that make sense, but we were very careful about that because we had already been through the Fannie Mae. And I think, too, one thing I realized when we did Fannie Mae, and I use this as a kind of a learning curve even to our staff, I had kind of an attitude, right? Like with Fannie Mae, I was like, hey, I know what's right. You guys are wrong. And I was very vocal about the things that I wanted to do and not want to do as a vendor. And in the end, that probably cost us some of our relationship with them. And, you live and learn. And I said, okay, I won't repeat that with Amazon. And it is very much a political situation. You have layers of managers. And so my attitude with Amazon was, for the managers and station managers that we worked under, I would tell them, my job is to make you look good. What do I need to do to make you look good? Right? That's my job. I don't care about the glory on me. I didn't care. I just care if you paid me, right? But I knew that if I told the managers, hey, I want to make you look good to your boss, that manager would in turn take care of us. And they did. And we grew to such large amounts where other companies did not do that because they were too busy bitching about what they didn't have. And we realized the things they were bitching about were things were outside their scope. So it was a really good.
Well, we kind of learned how to play the game from Fannie Mae.
Correct. And so that really helped. And so we caged it so it didn't affect the rest of our business. We were still able to maintain our customers, provide really good service for them. And at the same time, when we were done with that, we could exit that and it wouldn't have a huge impact on the rest of our business, right? And so if you're working with one of those big clients, you want to think about how do you structure that. And if you don't know how to structure that, DM me, we can talk about it. There's ways to structure things to your advantage to make sure it doesn't impact the rest of your business.
Right. And you don't act like the money's going to last forever too.
No, the money never is going to last forever. You're always going to have ups and downs. So, okay, so we get out of that. And then now we're at present day. Over the last 12 months, Feds raised rates, things changed, the market's weird. I mean, during COVID, we had some parts of the market that were stalled, other parts like Arrowhead, Arrowhead that were like on fire.
Vacation rentals were great.
On fire. Vacation rentals were great. Buying in vacation destinations were great. People want to get out of cities.
Home improvement was soared.
Home improvement was great. Home Depot and Lowe's, they were super strong on home improvement, spending a lot. But you weren't getting a lot of listings in normal neighborhoods. People didn't know what to do. They were kind of frozen in those.
Open houses really sucked.
Open houses sucked. You had to fill out a form, do whatever.
You had to wear like a hazmat suit to get inside. It was only one person at a time.
I remember we went to that open house.
I know.
We went to an open house in Arrowhead, and there was a whole line of people waiting because it was one person at a time. And we looked at each other, and we just walked in the door, and they're like, you can't go in there. We're like, okay, we're going to go in. We walked in, looked around, and we're not interested, and we left.
People freaked out.
I didn't have time for that. So it kind of brings us. So kind of what started happening in COVID is still here today, right? People aren't selling. The market's a lot slower.
People aren't selling because there was a refi boom.
Yes, people were
during the COVID period, right? Because rates were really low, so everyone was refinancing, which we did too.
Cashed out. Some people.
We refinanced all of our properties. To like 3% loans, so that was good. So mortgage people were doing good during that time. But I lost my train of thought.
So we're kind of at present time now. This last year, we get up into this last year, and now we start seeing the effects.
So the refi boom's over, basically.
The refi boom is over. Interest rates are
sky high.
They're sky high.
Not sky high. They're just mid.
But what we've seen is now the fallout from the pandemic, because the pandemic had a lot of free money in terms of PPP loans, SBA loans, ERC credits, money to individuals, extra COVID money if you're unemployed. And so what happens is when you have all this extra free cash flowing in the market, you have inflation, right? So like if you're going to sell, anything to anybody and you know that they're just filthy rich, you're going to raise the price, right? That's just what the market does, because that person can go, I have so much money, it doesn't matter, I'll pay for it, right? In reality, that doesn't really happen. But all this free cash in the market, people are willing to just spend it. So things become more elevated. Plus, the combination of it's harder to find employees. You're having wages skyrocketed. And when I mean wages skyrocketed, I'm talking about minimum wage skyrocketed, right? These are not the wages that you want to raise up because they actually don't do anything for the economy but actually hurt it. But wages start going up. Employers are having to pay more money than they normally pay to just entice people to come work for them. This is not healthy. And so all of these things in turn make products more expensive, make services more expensive. And so now we're kind of left with this post-pandemic market where we have really high inflation. And I know that if you're watching the news, they keep saying the soundbite is inflation's coming down. I'm just going to tell you this. If you think the inflation is coming down, you are full of shit. It's not coming down. It's going up. It's going up. Everything is going up. Gas is almost $7 a gallon for premium in Southern California. Everything is going up. Now they said today orange juice is going to go up because, I don't know, something about the oranges. So boom, orange juice is going up. I went to change the oil on the car. The guy goes, October 1st, 15% increase on all oil filters. Anything related to automotive is a surplus being added. Everything is going up. And so we're in this period where
inflationary period.
We're in this period where things are going up. The feds keep raising rates because how it works is they raise rates, making money more expensive. And when money's more expensive, they think less of it's out there. Of course, it would be helpful if they actually stop sending it out there themselves, but less money in the market. And what happens is it puts a damper. People stop selling products, so they have to start discounting the product, and therefore it starts reversing, and then it starts coming down, and that's where you start getting the raise, right? It's not necessarily happening right now. Rates keep going up. We've had some bank failures this year, Silicon Valley, First Republic, and Signature Bank.
Which freaks people out.
It freaks people out. And then now they're talking about, we talked about this over the weekend, and this may be really deep if you're not really into the financial side of things. After 2008 financial crash, the world central banking in Basel came up with new guidelines for the world to use to offset their cash liabilities and their assets by buying secure assets, right? They want to buy secure assets. They want to make sure that they are always in a position to fulfill demand for depositors of doing withdrawals. Because a run on the bank happens when you get scared the bank doesn't have enough cash, because the bank does not have all the cash. They invest a lot of it. And you start asking for your money. They don't have the money, and therefore the bank collapses and the FDIC takes over. And they have to come in and honor the deposits. So one of the ways to do that was they said the world's safest asset was a 2-year treasury yield. They said that's the number one safest asset in the world. Well, if you follow interest rates,
the 2-year or the 10-year? The 2-year?
The 10-year is the benchmark for the mortgage, the 30-year mortgage. But the 2-year. And so what banks were doing is, and Silicon Valley Bank did this, as they were getting an influx of cash, especially during the COVID period, they were offsetting that influx of cash by investing in 2-year treasury yields, which is fine, stable. You're going to get your money back from the federal government, you hope. But a 2-year treasury yield has the next to 0% interest return. As the feds raise rates, people start demanding in their CDs. You start having to pay interest to people. Money's not free anymore. Well, all of a sudden, all your money's locked up at 0% interest. You need to get that money out. Who's going to buy that bond from you at a near 0% interest rate when current interest rates are 3 or 4%? So now you're having to sell it at a loss. And that loss is what ultimately collapsed Silicon Valley Bank. They had to liquidate their position to fill the demands for the people wanting to take their money out because people got nervous over that issue, and that actually caused a bank loss. And so I read this article, makes a lot of sense. I know you're kind of looking at me with glazed eyes. But so bottom line is, if you're holding an asset, you know, it's real simple. I spend $100 million and I buy, you know, $100 million worth of assets that's going to pay me 2% interest. You say that's great. Okay. A year later, interest is now 6, 7, 8%. So if I had $100 million, I could be getting 8% interest.
Right.
What do you think the investor wants?
You're negative.
The investor wants his money out of that 2%, and he wants to put it into an 8%. How do you get your money out of that 2%? You have to sell, that company has to sell it at a loss, because who's going to buy it for dollar because it's such a low rate? So the negative effect of the feds raising the rate is all the assets with lower interest become toxic assets. And once you think about this, everyone has 3% mortgages, 30-year fixed.
Right.
The average homeowner.
And they're giving 5% on your savings account.
So get this. So a 30-year mortgage, is based on a 10-year treasury yield, because the average homeowner moves in 7 years. Therefore, the investor gets paid off within that 10-year period. So they base it off the 10-year, and they usually do about 200 basis points over the 10-year rate, right? Because you're doing a mortgage. Okay, well, people aren't moving. So there's one problem. One, the asset's not going to liquidate like they think it's going to liquidate.
Right.
And second is they're getting 3%.
They're not moving.
Their money is tied up for, and they're not moving because there's nowhere to move to.
Also, they have a low interest rate.
Yeah.
They don't want to trade at 3 for a 7.
And now what you have is you have this 3.5% interest rate mortgage sitting on the books of some investor who bought a mortgage-backed security from Fannie Mae. And he's going, wait a minute, $100 million and 3.5%, I want out because I can be making 8% elsewhere. Guess what? That 3.5% that is great for you as the homeowner is now a toxic asset for investors. So we have basically created a whole new 2008 all over again. Instead of subprimes, now the new toxic asset is a 3.5% mortgage, because who wants a whole paper at 3.5% when you can earn way more?
Right.
So now you're having an unrealized loss. So I know that's really deep, and if you're not into the financials, it gets really crazy, but bottom line is,
just watch The Big Short.
If you watch The Big Short, The Big Short's a great movie. It's got who's in it? It's got
a lot of people.
No. It's got the one guy. He was married to Angelina Jolie.
Oh, Brad Pitt.
There you go. Brad Pitt's in it. So watch The Big Short. Brad Pitt's in it. But it's exactly the same thing. But instead of this time being credit default swaps and subprime mortgages as toxic assets, now toxic assets being held by large investment firms and any bank that's warehousing it on their books are these 3.5% mortgages. Because the feds have raised the rate so high, they've become so undesirable. They now have unrecognized losses, and that's going to cause a lot of smaller regional banks to ultimately end up collapsing. So look for more of that. So
don't cause panic. We don't.
Look for the opportunity in the market. This provides a whole new set of opportunity, and look for what's happening and where you need to position your business in the market, because no matter what happens, the house will still be there.
Yes.
Always remember that. Unlike a company that goes bankrupt, your stock is worth 0. A house will still be there and somebody will still occupy it. A transaction will still occur.
We didn't even talk about the shadow foreclosure market.
No.
Due to COVID.
Well, so what we'll do is our next podcast, we'll get a little bit more into if you kind of geek out on some of the numbers and some of how the economic machine runs around real estate and foreclosure. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit. I know that's Mia's least favorite part of it.
My favorite.
It's my favorite part of it. I like tracking this. I like knowing what's happening. But if you're that type of agent and you were a business owner and you really like to understand the market and you really like to have those conversations, DM me. We'll talk about it. To me, that's fascinating because that's giving you a glimpse of what's happening in the market and where you should be positioning your services so you ultimately can benefit from that and maximize.
I mean, at the end of the day, the people who aren't geeking out about all the statistics, just like, so what am I supposed to do? That's what they want to know.
Well, they want to know what you're supposed to do. Well, it depends on what they do.
Yeah.
That question is, there's no it depends on what do you already do? What are your services? What are your skills? What do you offer your clients? That comes down to what services do you have? And what skill sets do you have, and what does your team look like? And based on that, which part of your team can we leverage to put you in the next market to maximize and make the most amount of money? And that's kind of the conversation.
Yeah.
So, so I know you're about ready to say, okay, it's done. We went over 5 minutes this time.
Oh my gosh, we're
So anyways, listen, it was great. I know that was a lot of information. We do kind of give a lot of information out, but DM us if you want to talk about it, or give us a call or shoot me an email or whatever the case is. We'd love to talk to you guys about it. And do you want to wrap up with anything else?
No, I mean to be.
Mia's in a coma.
I'm in a coma. To me, the moral of the story is diversification.
No, it is. It
really is.
It's not about panic and fear. It's diversification.
Because you're like, well, what do you do? And so if you're a one-trick pony, you might have a problem. If you only represent buyers, if you only represent sellers, if you only do loans, it's a problem. So I think, everything that we talk about boils down to the way to protect yourself and your business and your income and your revenue is diversification.
Absolutely. Diversification and knowing how to apply that diversification.
Exactly. And that way you can pivot in any market, up, down, doesn't matter.
Exactly. Okay. We're done.
Bye.
We're done. See you guys later. We'll see you next episode.
Hey guys, this is Damien. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble about real estate and property management. Don't forget to check out all our social media and visit our website for wholesale property management. You can find the link in the bio. If you have topics, questions, or crazy situations you want us to talk about, send us a message. See you on the next episode of ModTalk.